Hi, I'm Professor Geraldine Wright from Hartford College. I want to talk to you about why you should apply to come and study the master's degree in biology at Oxford University. Our new master's course is 3 years of taught course followed by an optional 4th year research project. At the end of the 4 years, you'll have a master's degree. But if you opt to take the 3-year course only, you'll have a bachelor's degree. The topics that you'll be taught during this biology course include evolutionary biology, genomics and genetics, ecology and conservation, epidemiology, and molecular plant science. All of them are taught by world-leading experts in these fields. The unique thing about coming to Oxford is the tutorial system. In a tutorial, you will write essays and refine and develop your ability to write. You'll work with staff members like me, where we'll set you a topic, you'll write the essay, and we'll meet to discuss in detail this particular topic. It is truly a unique form of education that gives you a great foundational basis in biology and also makes you a very strong writer. It prepares you for many different types of job afterward, including further study in biology. So please apply today. We look forward to hearing from you. Hi, my name is Jerry Wright, and I'm a professor in the Department of Zoology and tutorial fellow at Hartford College. And today we want to give you some more information about why you should come to Hartford College and try to answer any questions you have about the college itself and the application process.
I'm Odile Harrison, and I'm a departmental lecturer in zoology in the Department of Zoology, and I'm also a secondary lecturer at Hartford College in biology.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and I'm a second-year biologist at Hartford.
Great. So thanks, Odile and Caleb, for being here today. Caleb, can you tell us, when you came to Oxford for the open days, why did you choose Hartford College? Why did you choose it as your first choice?
So the main reason why I chose Hartford is because Hartford sort of proposed itself to me as a place that had a really good balance in terms of balance between academic life and life outside of academia. So extracurriculars, social activities, getting involved in societies, not only societies within college, but outside of college as well, and organizations and things like that. And I think in general, when I visited Hartford, it kind of broke down the stereotypical belief that all Oxford colleges are just places where you work, and you don't do anything else. It really showed to me that they are passionate about learning, and they are passionate about excelling in academia, but they're also passionate about all these other things that build your character outside of academia, such as extracurriculars, societies, getting involved in various other things. And I think that's what sold Hartford to me, was the idea that it's a place where you become not only an academic but a more rounded individual, I guess, because you get involved in so many different things.
Describe to us your typical day. So when you're here during term time, what's it like?
So my typical day as like a biology first year, as I've just finished first year, my typical day would kind of start with lectures in the morning, so 9 o'clock, and then it's usually either labs afterwards, or we have computer sessions where we learn coding, and it's never just kind of straight out coding. It's always related to biology, obviously. But we also have what we have departmental synthesis sessions, which are sometimes following lectures, and they're always in the morning as well, which is like a lecture, but it's a bit smaller and it's more interactive with the lecturer who's giving it. So that would be my morning. Sometimes in the morning as well, I'll get up and I'll go to the college gym before lectures, or I sometimes might go down for breakfast at college if there's a full English on or something like that. And then I would say at lunch, it's usually either back to college for lunch, or depending on if I've got labs and then a lecture following, I'll go out, into the city centre to grab something to eat. And then, lunch is usually the kind of most chilled, relaxed kind of day, because you can play sports matches at lunch. So the football team will play around lunchtime, and then you'll finish your football match, and then it's usually straight back to college, get changed, back to lectures. For my last lecture of the day, which for biologists is always 2 o'clock. And then after that, it's sort of free time, I guess, in the evening to usually catch up on lectures, catch up on, any notes from the practicals, any practical write-ups, and mostly for writing tutorial essays and stuff like that in the evening. And then kind of later on in the evening, I'll usually in the weekday be in the bar, the college bar, or in the junior common room, or, with a society or something like that, or a social. So that would be sort of my standard day, I guess.
So what do you like about the tutorial system? Why is it special, and what do you like about it?
So I'd say the thing about the tutorial system for me is that whilst you do learn like a large amount of, kind of facts about, the subjects that you're having the tutorial on, you also get a very good depth of knowledge and depth of understanding for that topic that you don't normally get from the textbook. As in, it's not just learning the facts about something, it's actually learning, you know the facts about this thing, but do you understand how it works? Do you understand why it works like this? And I think that's what works so well about the tutorial system, is you learn that in a way that's so effective that it's better than you could learn from any textbook or any lecture or anything, because it's a one-on-one talk with someone who's, an expert in the field, really, and you get that depth of knowledge that you just can't really get from other systems of learning, I feel. And that's why I value it so much.
And did you find it hard to start when you were having to write essays for the tutorial system? How did you cope with that?
Yeah, so I'd say at the start, in the first few weeks at college, it was quite hard in terms of you're kind of just left to do it, and there's no specific guideline. And at the start, that can be daunting because you're thinking there's no guidance on how to write my essay. But then as the weeks go on, you find out that that's actually a good thing, because it helps you to develop your own essay writing style. And I've noticed from looking at the essays of other biologists in my year that everyone, as the weeks go on throughout your first year and even your second year, I'm guessing, everyone develops their own style of essay writing. And it's because the tutors sort of leave it open to you to develop. And as you write an essay, every essay you write, it gets marked and you get feedback. So as the weeks go on, you've written more essays and you've got more sets of feedback. And so you're developing your style more, and you're learning how to, brush up your essays, make them neater, make them more, more fine-tuned. And I feel like whilst it could be daunting in the very first few weeks, it was definitely a lot smoother as the weeks went on.
Great.
Yeah. So Adil, what would you say that the application process is for applying to Oxford?
Okay, well, to apply to do biology at Oxford, you need to have an A star and 2 A's, as that's the requirement anyway for entry. And the A star has to be in a science subject. There's a whole list actually online of different science subjects those would be, but required certainly is biology. You have to have an A in biology. And then an important thing, I think, when you're thinking about your application form for your ARCAS form, is to think about your personal statement. Try to make that it is a personal statement, so you have to make it come from you and be unique to you, and your enthusiasm for studying biology has to come through, and so that's what we're looking for. So try to think very carefully about your personal statement and making that something that's true to you and really why you want to study biology, I think, at university, really. So that's, I think, something I would recommend people did spend some time on. Really, yeah.
And Jerry, what advice would you give to people who have gone through the application process and have now received an interview and are about to go into interviews?
So in preparation for the interview, it's good to know a bit about what will happen. We'll be interested to ask you more details about the personal statement that you have written, so please be sure to read it prior to the interview. So that you remember what you've written about. We want to get to know you and what motivates you to study biology for 4 years. So it's really an important part of our process to dig down into that. We're also interested to find out how your mind works. And so we will give you a piece of text to read, and then you'll come into the interview having read this text, and we'll have a discussion about the text. This follows the format of a tutorial, where you would be expected to do reading prior to the tutorial, and then to answer questions and to have a mature and intellectual discussion about a specific topic. So in the interview, it's not about trying to find out how much you know necessarily. It's really trying to work with you to understand if tutorial teaching is really for you. So Caleb, when you came to interview, what did you find was the most challenging thing? What was the scariest part about it?
So I'd say that the scariest part was once I was in the interview, I feel like I was being asked questions that were, sort of a higher level of knowledge, higher than the knowledge that I had at A-level. And I feel like whilst at the start it was daunting and during the interview it was daunting, I feel like it's not as daunting, or it shouldn't be as daunting as students are led on to think, because what you have to realize is that they are going to ask you questions that require a higher level of knowledge that are, sort of university level knowledge. But it's not because they're trying to catch you out or because they expect you to know the answer. They're just trying to see if you can give an answer that shows, a logical thought process and an intellectual thought process. And so I think whilst I was definitely being asked questions that I wasn't given right answers to because, they were of a higher knowledge, I was showing my thought process whilst I was answering them, and I was showing them how I thought. And, that's really the point of these questions, is they're not asking them you because they expect you to know the right answer. They just want to see what your academic potential is. And the way that they assess that is by asking you tough and difficult questions, which obviously at the time are daunting, but it's not, to catch you out or anything like that.
Exactly. I have one final question for you. Can you tell us a bit more about Hartford College's atmosphere? What's special about it, and why would a student choose it?
So I'd say in general, Hartford has quite a warm and relaxed attitude, as in, the people there are very welcoming. Even when I went to the open day, when I was, thinking about applying, it was a very welcoming place. As soon as I came in, people were talking to me, even if they didn't do my subject. And I think just in general, the college has a very relaxed atmosphere. There's nobody who, sort of thinks they're better than anyone else. And there's nobody who, we have friendly competition as students, but, we're all there to support each other as students as well.
That's really lovely to hear.
I think we're relaxed in a good way, in the sense that we're relaxed when it's the right time to be relaxed. But when it's time to, get things done and get our heads down as students, we're really good at motivating each other.
Great.
Yeah.
So thanks for tuning in today for today's question and answer session for the biology degree course at Oxford University and Hartford College. If you have any further questions, please let us know. We hope that you apply, and we look forward to seeing you in interview. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.